Shubhadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nidishesho Shunyavati Vasatu Deshtarine Namami Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lashat Kundalan Rukuni Bhajamaram
Namami Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lashat Kundalan Rukuni Bhajamaram
Yashoda Viyolukana Bhagamaram Param Nishtam Vatam Tato Jute Gopam
Yashoda Viyolukana Bhagamaram Param Nishtam Vatam Tato
Namami Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lashat Kundalam Gokuli Bhajamaram
Namami Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokuli Bhajamaram
Rudantam Mukunite Yamam Vijantam Karam Bhujayubina Shatankanitram Rudantam
Mukunitram Dulam Vijantam Jajubina Shatankanitram
Muhushashakam Payatri Katha-Kanta Sthita Damodaram Bhakti-Bhattam
Mushashakam Bodhidikam Kakanta Sita
Namam Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lashat Kundalam Gokuli Bhajamaram Iti Trishalila Virananda Kundi Shaghu Shanu Machantam Akapayantam
Iti Trishalila Virananda Kundi Shaghu Shanu Machantam Akapayantam
Tadishito Gishu Bhaktir Chitattam Punaprimatastam Shata Iti Bandhi
Tadishitam Keshu Bhaktai Jitatam Punaprimastattam Sandhaviti
Namami Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lashat Kundalam Gokuli Bhajamaram
Namami Sharam Satchitananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokuli Bhajamaram
Varandigam Moksham Namoksham
Shabodimba Rajanam Vinayam Varandigam
Varandigam Moksham Namoksham
Shabodimba Rajanam Vinayam Varandigam
Idam Deva
Purnata Bhavanayam Shadami Mudashami
Rasnakimanam Idam
Deva Purnata Bhavanayam Shadami Mudashami
Namami Sharam Satchidananda Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Nidanti
Shantam Satchitananda Lashat Kudalam
Nidanti Mukham Bhujam Bhakti Vitam Kudalai Snigdha Ratisya Gopal Nidanti Mukham Bhujam Vitam Kudalai Snigdha Ratisya Gopal Muschumidam Nimbarakadharame Manusya Virasta Mamalam Lakshalatri Muschumidam Nimbarakadharame Manusya Virasta Mamalam Lakshalatri Namami Sharam Satchidananda Rupam Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Namo Devadamunda Rananda Vishnu Rashid Prabhu Dukha Jala Bhimanam Namo Devadamunda Rananda Vishnu Rashid Prabhu Dukha Jala Bhimanam Kripa Drishti Pishtadi Vinam Bhatanam Grihani Shamamaga Vidakshadrisha Kripa Drishti Pishtadi Vinam Bhatanam Grihani Shamamaga Vidakshadrisha Namami Sharam Satchidananda Rupam Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Kubira Chobhatra Mutera Jadva Daya Mushito Bhakti Bhaja Pitocha Kubira Chobhatra Mutera Jadva Daya Mushito Bhakti Bhaja Pitocha Tathapi Bhakti Shakami Prayacha Mukshikamisti Namadari Tatapi Bhakti Shakami Prayacha Mukshikami Namami Sharam Satchidananda Rupam Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Namaste Astu Dhamne Spuraditya Tadiya Dharaya Vishwasadhane Namaste Astu Dhamne Spuraditya Tadiya Dharaya Vishwasadhane Namo Radhika Oita Vyamyavi Namo Arindriyaya Divaya Kuntam Namo Radhika Oita Vyamyavi Namo Arindriyaya Divaya Kuntam Namami Sharam Satchidananda Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Yashoda Vyayura Radhamanam Param Vishtam Bhattam Tat Viprabhuka Namami Sharam Satchidananda Lashat Kudalam Gurgumi Bhajamanam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Jai Radha, Damodar Radha, Damodar Radhe. Jai Radha, Damodar Radha, Jai Radha, Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe. Jai Radha, Gopinath Radha Jai Radha, Raman Radha Raman Radhe. Jai Radha, Raman Radha Jai Radha, Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Jai Radha, Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Radha Naam ki Jai.
Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Thank you very much, Raj Vidya Prabhu, Subhadra Mataji, for the wonderful singing recitation of the Damodar Ashtakam. So now we will be singing the reciting the Gopi Geet. It will be displayed on your screen, so you all can wonderfully follow it. Gopyauchuhu Gopyauchuhu शरदुदाशये साधु जात सरसिजो दर श्री मुषा दृशा सुरतनाथ ते अशुल्कदा शिका वरदने दातो मे अकिल वधा विषजलाप्यया व्यालराक्षसा वरशमा ऋतात् वैर्यतोलना वृषमयात्मजा विश्वतो भयात् वृषभते वयं रक्षिता मोहो न खलु गोपिका ओ नन्दनो भगवान् अखिलदेहिना अन्तरात्मधो विघ्नसार्थितो विश्वगुप्तये सखा सात्वतां कुले वीरचिताभयं वृष्णिधूयते चरणमे यशा संश्रुते भया करसरो रुहं कान्तकामदम् सिरसिधे लीनः श्रीकर गृहम् व्रज जनार्थिहन् वीरयोषिता निज जन स्मया दंशन स्मिता भज सखे भव किंकरी स्मनो चारुदर्शया प्रणत देहिनां फणिफणार्पितं ते पादाम्बुजम् प्रणोतु चेक्षुषः कृन्दिरेच्छया मधुरया गिरा वाल्गुवाक्यया बुधमनयया पुष्करे विधिर्करी इमा वीरयो शितः विधिकरी इमा वीरमुयति अथ रसेन्दुनाप्य अव्ययास्वना तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः प्रहसितं प्रिया प्रेमवीक्षणम् विहरणं च ते ज्ञानमङ्गलम् रहसि संविदो यारुदि स्पृशः कुहकनो मनः शोभयन्तिः चलसि यद्व्रजात् चारयान् पशु नलिनसुन्दरम् नाथ ते पदम् शीलतृणाङ्कुरैः सिद्धतीति नः कलिलता मनः कान्तगच्छति विना रोहाननं वेदमावृतं गणराजास्वलं दर्शयामो मनसि नः स्मरन् वीरयच्छसि प्रणतकामदम् पद्मयार्चितम् धरणिमण्डलम् ध्येयमापदि चरणपङ्कजम् शान्तमं च ते रमणस्तामेश्व अर्पयादिहम् सुरतवर्धनम् हो शोकनाशनम् स्वरितवेणुना सुष्ठुचुम्बितम् अततियद्भवान् अहनिकाननम् त्रुटियुगायते त्वाम् अपश्यताम् कुटिलकुण्डलम् श्रीमुखं च ते जडोदीक्षताम् पक्ष्मकृददृशाम् पतिसुतान्वय भ्रातर्बान्धवा अतिविलम्यते अन्त्यच्युतगता गतिविदस्तवो गीतमोहिताः कीटवयोषिताः कास्त्यजेत् निशि रहसि संविदम् प्रोच्छायो दयम् प्रहसिता नानम् प्रेमवेक्षणम् बृहत् व्यक्तिरङ्गते वृजिनहं प्रियलम् विश्वमङ्गलम् त्यजमनाचना तत्स्पृहा मनाम् स्वजनरुद्ररुजा यन्निषोद्धनम् यत्ते सुजातचरणाम्बुरुहं स्तनेषु भीताः शनैः प्रियदधिमहि कर्कशेषु तेनातविमतसि तद व्यथतेना किं स्मित कूर्पाधिभिर्भ्रमति धीर भवद आयुषाम्नः तप्तजीवनम् कविरिरेदितं कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदागतम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jayo Radha, Jayo Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radhe Radhe. Jayatam Surato Pango, Mama Manda Mater Gati, Mat Sarvasva Padam Bhojo, Radha Madan Mohana, Jayo Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe Radhe. Divya Vrindaranya Kalpa Dhruma, Srimat Ratnangada Simhasanasto, Shri Srila Radha Govinda Devo, Preshthalibi Sevyasmano Smarami, Jayo Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radhe Radhe. Shriman Rasa Rasarambi, Vamshi Vatasthitah, Karshanirvenu Gopi, Shri Gopinathaya Shreyastuna, Jayo Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha, Radhe Radhe. Ho Jaya Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar, Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radhe Radhe. Jayo Krishna Balaram, Jayo Vrindavan Dham, Jayo Krishna Balaram, Jayo Vrindavan Dham. Jayo Lalita, Jayo Lalita Vishakha, Radhe Shyam, Jayo Lalita Vishakha, Radhe Shyam, Jayo Lalita Vishakha, রাধে শ্যাম, জয় রাধে জয় রাধে, জয় রাধে জয় জয় শ্রী রাধে, জয় রাধে জয় রাধে, জয় রাধে জয় জয় শ্রী রাধে, জয় গৌরানিতায়, জয় গৌরানিতায়, জয় প্রভুপদ শ্রীলা প্রভুপদ, প্রভুপাদ প্রভুপাদ, জয় জয় শ্রীলা প্রভুপাদ, গুরুদেব গুরুদেব গুরুদেব, জয় জয় গুরুদেব, জয় জয় গুরুদেব, জয় জয় গুরুদেব। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। आराध्य भगवान व्रजेश्वर तनयस तद्धाम वृंदावनम, रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजुवद वर्गेण तया कल्पिता, श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण अमलम प्रेम पुमार्थो महा, श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभुर्मतैदम नायत्रयाग्रह परः। नवनीरदविन्दकान्तिधरं रससागर नागर भूपवरं, शुभवङ्किमचारु शिखण्ड शिखिं, भज कृष्ण निधिं व्रजराजसुतं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं, श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च, श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं, सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं, परिजन सहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं, श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान्, सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च, राधिका सरोदैन्दु निन्दिमुखा मण्डली, वन्दिये श्रीपाद पद्म वृषभानुनन्दिनी, यदि ते हरिपाद सरोज सुधा, रसपान हृदं सततं, कलिघृत विहित भावमयं, भज गोद्रुमकानन कुंज विदो, ओ भज गोद्रुमकानन कुंज विदो, भज गोद्रुमकानन कुंज विदो। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome to the Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad Group special Kartik Prabhodini Ekadashi or Utthapan Ekadashi special. May this month, as always, it blesses devotees because it is a month of Sri Radha, Urjeshwari Mas, and of course Damodar Mas, no doubt about it. So this will be our last session for this Kartik, as Kartik Purnima is coming very soon. I believe it is coming this Thursday, or is it this Wednesday? Let me double check here in my Vaishnav calendar. It is this coming Wednesday. So Wednesday is the last day of Kartik. So whatever austerities in terms of japa, tapa, shravana, kirtan, smaranam, as much as we can do, it will indeed please Radha Krishna, Radha Damodar. So, this Gopi Geet is such a complex and a very vast subject. And as mentioned last time, and many times last year also, we are just making a mere small attempt to understand it. It is a very, very advanced subject matter. But nevertheless, we make a humble attempt in order to glorify the gopis, glorify Sri Vrindavan Dham, glorify the prema or the love that the Vrajvasis have, especially the gopis and Srimati Radharani in the highest mood of paramour love or conjugal love or Madhurya Rasha. So last time, if you all recollect, prior to Srila Prabhupada's disappearance program, we had one session where we had just set the platform on how the Gopi Geet basically started. And if you all can recollect that Krishna plays the flute in the middle of the night, actually in Vamshi Vata, Sriman Rasa Rasarambi, Vamshi Vata Stitaha Karshana Swaner Venur Gopi, Sri Gopi Nathaya Shreyastuna. He calls all the gopis in the middle of the night and they come running, leaving everything behind. And once they reach, they are fully surrendered to Sri Krishna. They have a wonderful conversation. Krishna asking them to go back, and they refuse to go back, saying that you are the real husband, you are the real everything. As in the Vedic mantra, Tameva Mata, Chapita Tameva, Tameva Bandhu, Cha Sakha Tameva, Tameva Bandhu, everything you are mine. Tameva Vidya Dravinam Tameva, Tameva Sarvam, Mamadeva Deva. Oh Krishna, you are everything of mine, everything. So the gopis say that the real husband is you. What is the point in going back to the shadow? And that is indeed the highest mode of surrender that we can never find anywhere else in any part of the creation, neither in Dwarka, neither in Mathura, although they are all Krishna devotees. But the devotees of Vrindavan, and especially the mood of surrender, the famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja, is indeed the excuse me, Hari Hari. It's summum bonum, in the essence is completely understood by the gopis, and that is the kind of surrender that one can eventually hope for in their in after the Sambandha Abhidhyay and in the Prayojan, or the ultimate goal, especially those who are the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the line of Mahaprabhu, in this Gaudiya Vaishnava, in the line of Rup Goswami, known as the Rupa Anugas. So the gopis do not go back, and they have a wonderful, very humorous and very, very sarcastic conversation between Krishna, and Krishna eventually concedes. And then, as promised the previous year, that I will fulfill your desires, O Gopi, and I will dance with you in the Rasa dance, in the Ras Leela. So the Krishna, pleased with them, commences the Ras Leela. Even the famous bhajan or the kirtan that we sing, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan. So that the author, Krishnadas, says that Jaya Jaya Rasa Mandala Jaya, Jaya Radha Sham. So as he is singing this wonderful, in this composition, he's offering glories, all glories to the Ras Mandal. Ras Mandal means all the gopis that had gathered in the assembly where Krishna and the gopis and of course Radharani in the center along with Sri Krishna is performing the Ras Leela. Jaya Rasa Mandala Jaya. Why this mandal is Jaya? Why this group of Vaishnavas or the devotees is most glorious? Because of their amazing surrender and their amazing love for Krishna. Krishna has given them the highest of the highest. He has given himself to them. He has given himself to them by performing the Ras Leela. And what an amazing scene Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad and our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas described. Of course, time is so limited, so there's so much to say, but so little time. Right in the middle, Radha and Krishna are performing the dance, and there are so many gopis from all different camps in Vraj Mandal. We should understand that there are different camps of gopis or different groups. The foremost group of the gopis is known as the Swapaksha gopis. Swapaksha gopis are those gopis that are the most intimate, and they are Radharani's own. So the Ashta Sakhis are Swapaksha Sakhis, for example. The Manjaris are also considered the Swapaksha Sakhis, in which Rup Goswami, Rupa Manjari, Sanatan Goswami, Labanga Manjari, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Guna Manjari, Jiva Goswami, Vilas Manjari, Raghunath Das Goswami, Tulshi Manjari, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is none other than Kasturi Manjari, Loknath Goswami is Manjulali Manjari, and like that, all these wonderful, Narottam Das Thakur is Champaklata Manjari, and all these wonderful acharyas, like even Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur himself is Kamla Manjari, Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who is a glorious disappearance day today. Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj is the most wonderful personality that initiated his divine grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it is his disappearance, his Tirobhav Tithi. So he himself is an incarnation of Guna Manjari. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is none other than Naina Manjari or Naina Manjari. So all these are Swapaksha gopis. And of course, A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, whose Nitya, Leela, Swarupa details are still not known to us. Prabhupada said that if I tell you who I am in Golok Vrindavan, you will faint. So that is an amazing statement that he made. So indeed, he is somebody very close to Rup Goswami, because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is very close, and we discussed that last time in glorification of his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. So these Swapaksha gopis are there, and then there is the other known as the camp is the opposite camp, Vipaksha gopis. And then there are two other camps of Vipaksha, means the opposite camp, the camp that belongs to Radharani's cousin, which is Chandravali and Shaibya. So that is the camp that actually takes Krishna away from Radharani to enjoy Krishna. And so that's known as the Vipaksha, the opposite gopis. And then there is two other camps of gopis in Madhurya Rasa that has been described. Excuse me. Is the Tathastha gopis. They are neutral. They are neutral to Radharani, and they are also neutral to Chandravali, the competitor of Srimati Radha Rani. And then those are the Tathastha gopis. And then there is also a camp of gopis known as the Surud gopis. Surud gopis means they are more inclined towards Radharani. They are the well-wishers of Radha, but not necessarily in the inner camp of Radharani. They are more inclined for the happiness of Radharani than the opposite camp leader, that is Chandravali Gopi. But what is amazing about this Ras Leela is something that we all need to take home as practicing Vaishnavas, because there is, in Ras Leela, there is a lot of rasa, undoubtedly, and rasa is meant for very, very advanced devotees. As Srimad Bhagavatam says in the very second verse, chronologically speaking, second verse, but actually it is the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, after the Manglacharan, Om Janmadi Yasya Yato Anvayad Itaratascha Artheshva Vigya Swarat, Tene Brahma Hridaya Kavi, Tene Brahma Hridaya. So that is the first Manglacharan, but after that comes the first verse, which is chronological, the second verse, where Srimad Bhagavatam says that Dharma Projita Kaitava Atro Parmo Nirmat Saranam Satam. This Srimad Bhagavatam and pure devotional service, one can only properly enter if there is no envy. Nirmat Saranam Satam. So there is transcendental envy between the opposite camp of Sri Radha, Chandravali, Shaibyaji, and of course Radharani and her Swapaksha gopis. But in the Ras Leela, one thing amazing happens. Krishna actually invites all of them. And that is an amazing thing that happens. That why does he decide to do that? Because if he's going to be dancing, which he eventually does with all the gopis, including the opposite camp gopis, the Vipaksha gopis, then that is going to upset Radharani. That is going to inflame her mana. That is going to inflame her sulkiness. And that is exactly why Krishna does it. There's a multi-purpose. So that when Radharani is upset at Krishna, Krishna gets that opportunity to serve Sri Radha personally, to pacify her. And that is the reason why he actually goes to the different gopis in different camps. And that is to increase the love in separation of Sri Radha and her followers. That is the secret of this. It is not that most people who consider Krishna as some ordinary, flirtatious person who is antisocial and simply going around with other ladies, and which, of course, in our normal social life, it is considered abominable or very bad. But in the transcendental realm, everything is transcendental, everything is perfect, and it cannot be imitated. It's very important to understand that, because otherwise we will always have some doubts about the pastimes of Sri Krishna, especially in Vraj, in Vrindavan, especially the pastimes like the stealing of the clothes of the gopis, the Chirharan, or the dancing with many gopis in the Ras Leela, or also enjoying with many gopis in different quarters of Sri Vrindavan, in the different Nikunjas. So when those doubts come in our minds, then certainly our hearts are very polluted. And then we start comparing things in our mind, in our heart, with our mundane, with our material experience. And when we do that, we do more harm than help to our spiritual progress by committing offenses. And that is why His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada has insisted many times, please read the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam before entering the Samam Bonum, before entering the Vraj Leela, before entering Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Then we will be able to understand the amazing loving relationship that is impossible in any other quarters of this creation, including the other parts or the spiritual planets, and including in the role of Dwarkadish Krishna, or even the ruler of Mathura, Mathuresh Krishna. It is impossible to, and only very few devotees are given that opportunity, who are very sincere in their hearts, to hear about these subject matters. I kid you not, my dear devotees. There are so many devotees who are invited, but many devotees are just not interested. And many devotees think that, oh, we do not need to indulge in this topic matters. We should just read Bhagavad Gita, which is good. Keep reading it. You will have another lifetime and another lifetime, maybe perhaps millions of lifetimes. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate. He's talking about Gyanvan. So those who are reading the Bhagavad Gita, real bhakti does not manifest. It is only knowledge of the opulence of Sri Krishna. That's what will manifest. It will give us an introduction to the opulence, and opulence is what the world is behind. And Krishna knows that very well. Krishna is the smartest of all. And he knows that, first of all, in order to attract the public at large, I will have to show off my opulence by speaking the Bhagavad Gita, by showing my universal form. And then they will come to some conclusion that Vasudev Sarvamiti. That Vasudev Sarvamiti means this is Vasudev who has created all these different Vaikuntha worlds. This is not the Vasudev of Golok Vrindavan. So most of the people are interested in Vaikuntha. They are interested in liberation. They are interested in their self-interest of dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. They are interested in that because that is what Srimad Bhagavatam, that's how it manifests. When Vyasadeva was sad, sitting in Badri Ashram, not knowing the reason for his sadness or moroseness, at that time, Gurudev, Sri Naradji appeared. And he basically tells him, yes, you have done wonderful. You have compiled the Vedas and you have spoken so many subject matters in the Vedas, material knowledge and with the combination of spiritual knowledge. But there is nothing that you have really compiled that gives pure devotional conclusions about the pure pastimes of Sri Krishna. And what he was indicating, Naradji, was the Samam Bonam, which eventually would lead to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastimes in Vraj Bhumi, in Vraj Mandal. So that is what you have not done. So you have done so much that people will perform a lot of dharma, religiosity, so that they will get money, artha. And because they get artha out of pious acts, out of punya karma, then naturally they will be blessed with a lot of wealth. And with that wealth, what will they do? Their material desires will be dharma, followed by artha, followed by kama. Kama means material desires will be fulfilled with wealth. So many desires. The more the wealth that a person possesses, the more different desires emanate within their hearts. And then they want more and more and more. And eventually, out of that, a very few of those, as Krishna says, Gyanvan mam prapadyate, then they get tired of the material abuse and the material enjoyment, because the soul has got nothing to do with anything material. So then for those who get some realization, then they want liberation, moksha. So dharma followed by artha, artha followed by kama, and for the further intelligent personalities amongst the few, they want liberation. So that is not sufficient. That's what he says. That's what Naradji instructs. So please compose something that is pure, Amala Puran, which is spotless, which has no spots of Gyan, no spots of karma. There is no Mishra Bhakti, no mixture, which is the Samam Bonam, which Rup Goswami also describes from Narad Pancharatra. The original preceptor is Naradji, where Rup Goswami has incorporated this particular verse in the nectar of devotion, the Bhakti Rasam Sindhu. What he's saying is Anya Vilashita Shunya Jnana Karma Anavrutam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Tad Bhakti Ruttam. Narad, this is the Narad Stotra. Naradji has said that one should have zero Anya Abhilashita. Any kind of material desire should be shunya, zero. And he specifies, especially even instructing those yogis and those jnanis, jnana karma anavratam. It should be beyond mundane knowledge and karma. And then, but that is the negation. What should be rejected? What is the positivity? So Naradji is saying, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Tad Bhakti Ruttam. That which is conducive, that which pleases Sri Krishna, that is Uttam Bhakti. That is the topmost Bhakti. And what pleased Sri Krishna? When all the gopis assembled, because Krishna knew that they would be pleased, because he had promised them that he is going to perform the Ras Leela. And he had assembled all of them without considering which camp they are from or which they are not. So what is the main underlying philosophical understanding that we can derive as sadhaks, excuse me, as practicing devotees? That we are all, if there is any Vaishnava, we should always respect them. Although Vaishnavas may have different rasas or mellows or different specialties in worshipping Krishna. There might be a Vaishnava who is in the Sri Sampradaya, who is worshipping the Lord of Vaikuntha, the Vaikuntha Adipati, Sri Narayan or Balaji, Subramanyam, those devotees are Vaishnavas as well. They should be they should be respected. All Vaishnavas should be respected. Like Narsi Mehta says in the very famous bhajan that Gandhiji loved, and it made famous all over the world. Vaishnav janto tene kaiye peed parai jane par dukhe upkar kare man na ave abhiman re. A Vaishnav is such a person that who respects everybody, and in spite of that, he's always giving and giving others a para upkar. When in spite of doing that, doesn't have a tinge of even any kind of false ego, which Mahaprabhu has mentioned in the third sloka of the Sistastakam, where he is saying very clearly that Trinadapi suni chera taro evo seishnuna amane na mane dena kirtanya sadari. Who can always sing the glories of Krishna? Kirtanya sadahari is what the gopis are doing. This is something that we have to get to. These are all nectarian, what do you call? We can actually, just like a bumblebee can extract nectar from the deepest part of the corolla of a flower inside, diving deep into it. Similarly, all these wonderful words of the Shastras and all these wonderful words of Mahaprabhu, that is Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. The gopis became Param Vijayata. They became the most successful, and they became the biggest conquerors of Sri Krishna. Param Vijayate. They obtained the topmost victory, because anybody who has obtained Krishna has automatically obtained everything and the topmost victory. They are Ajito Jito Apiva. One of the names of Sri Krishna is Ajit. Ajit means Jit means to conquer, and or one who can to conquer, and Ajit means one who cannot be conquered. But Jito, Ajito Apiva, those Vaishnavas who are fully surrendered to Sri Krishna, they can even conquer Sri Krishna himself. So, like Mahaprabhu said, that one who can offer respects to all and not offer respects for the self, they are capable of doing Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. They are Amanena Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. And the kind of kirtan that the gopis did, just after the Ras Leela is what we call the Gopi Geet. It is the Gopi Geet. And that Gopi Geet or that Sankirtan, it really attracted Sri Krishna. So what I was trying to say is, from the philosophical point, even within the Vaishnava community, those who are even the followers of Sri Krishna himself, even in the different Vaishnava groups, like those who are in the Vatsalya Ras, predominantly the Vallabhacharya Pushtimar Vaishnavas, and then we have the different Vaishnavas that worship Sri Krishna. Even within the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we find, of course, it's all one, but we have factions. We don't respect each other, and without saying much about it, it really pains my heart, because when Krishna himself invited all the gopis from all classes of their groups, then why can't we all not, under one banner of Mahaprabhu, be united? And this is something that we all, those who are the leaders in the Gaudiya Math, in our ISKCON movement, they should really ponder and not really, go over those things that had happened in the past and who had said what. Ultimately, they're all chanting the holy name. Ultimately, they are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ultimately, they are in the same camp of Sri Radha. They're not even Vipaksha gopis or Manjaris. Eventually, when they pass on into the Golok Vrindavan after their perfection, it is just not His Divine Krishna Prabhupada who was a perfected Vaishnava. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur just did not teach ABC or 1, 2, 3s. He had very wonderful stalwart disciples, and this Guru Parampara is not ordinary. So to sometimes think like a neophyte, or to think like a Kanishta, that only we are the best and the rest are something else, then that is not a very good situation for our advancement, and Krishna will teach us a lesson. So in this Ras Leela, what happens is that Krishna, as promised, he is now assembled in the huge, wonderful forest in the middle of the night, in the night of Sharad Purnima, with the full moon. And of course, now the end of the Kartik, another Purnima is there, but it's in the Sharad Purnima, Sharad Usasaye, in the in the Sharad Purnima, the gopis they assembled to perform the Ras Leela. And during the Ras Leela, Krishna is dancing in the middle with Sri Radha, and Radharani is in bliss because now her eyes are only on Krishna, and Krishna's eyes are only on Radharani. And at the same time, there are two opinions. It is said that Krishna actually expanded himself as many gopis. Now that expansion story has the more advanced the devotees are, their commentaries are also of viparit in nature. They may be opposing or they may be conflicting in nature. So there are two understandings of the Krishnas that danced in the Ras Leela. The one understanding is that Krishna expanded himself with his own swarupa, is what you call his own kaya view, his own. He expanded himself exactly as the original form with all the other gopis and danced with them. So that is one explanation that is given in the Ras Leela. Now, a second explanation is that Krishna, because now, and one of the reasons the top-notch Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas reject that theory, especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that Krishna expanded himself into as that many gopis. So they said this is actually speaking not the mood of Dwarka, where Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 Krishnas, Dwarkadish, with his 16,108 wives, or the queens of Dwarka. This is Golok Vrindavan, or this is Vrindavan. So here the explanation is that when Krishna was dancing very amazingly with all the gopis, it is as if there was a circle of fire. When a magician or when somebody who is an artist, if you have seen that in the circus when we are kids, or sometimes performers, they light up a little piece of cotton ball and they have it strung to a rope, and then they dip it in kerosene or some inflammable material, and then they light a matchstick, and that ball, the cotton ball, catches fire, and then they take that rope and make it go around in different circles. And when you see, it is only one ball, but you can see a wonderful circle of light, an amazing blazing circle of light. So that is the explanation that our Gaudiya Acharyas give, that Krishna was so fast and he was so amazing with lightning speed. He went around with each and every gopi, and it as if he had never left them, although for a fraction of a millisecond, without the realization of the gopis that were dancing with Krishna, they always thought that the Krishna is only with me, and they were mesmerized by that. And thus all the gopis were very extremely happy because Krishna had satisfied them. And that is the beauty of how they control Sri Krishna out of their love in Vraj Bhumi, out of their amorous love. One of the gopis started perspiring. Krishna was so fast that he took his what is it called, the upavastra, the upper garment, and started during the dance itself wiping the beads of sweat on her forehead. One of the gopis, her ankle bells, they became loose, and Krishna was so swift that he bent down and he tied the ankle bells before she would lose them, and before she would get attracted in the wonderful Ras Leela. The Ras Leela is the crescendo. Srila Prabhupada mentions that in order to become a part, Prabhupada uses some very, very amazing, simple, but at the same time very humorous English, especially in the purport. If you read, perhaps there is more than one purport of Srila Prabhupada after he gives the bhajan after he sings Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Je Chaya Jagata Judai Heno Nitai Vine Bhai Radha Krishna Paite Nai Drida Kori Dharo Nitai Pai Nitai Yadi Karuna Hobe Vraje Radha Krishna Paibe. So in that, Prabhupada specifically mentions, if one gets the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then one can enter the dance party of Radha Krishna. That was so humorous. The first time when I read it, I was really, big smiles. The dance party. Obviously, this was in the beginning, because if you have heard Srila Prabhupada sing Nitai Pada Kamala just on the harmonium, Prabhupada has sung some amazing Vaishnava bhajans, solo, without anybody, no accompaniment. And those were the days when we had first come down to New York and San Francisco, and when he was just simply sitting, he used to record and he used to play the harmonium. And the devotees of ISKCON later on, they put it out in the cassette form and then the CD forms. So, but the point is that in the purport he says, if you want to enter the dance party of Radha Krishna, so this dance party is what is Prabhupada indicating? Because at that time, those hippies and the newly joined ISKCON devotees would never understand what Ras Leela is, and Prabhupada would never even try to explain them to them, because it is not something that it is something to be immediately administered. The highest of the highest concepts in their heads, first they have to understand Vasudev Sarvamiti, Samatma Sudurla. They have to become Mahatmas, they have to become devotees, give up all kinds of dirty habits of meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, and come to the sattvic platform, because the sadhus, they are always eating sattvic foods and associating with sattvic things, and becoming a Vaishnava is sattvic. So that is a sadhu, becoming good. The word sadhu in Sanskrit means, the general meaning means good. So becoming good, becoming a true human being. When one becomes a Vaishnava, one takes to Vaishnavism, then one is on the perfect path. So that is what Krishna is indicating when he saw Mahatma Sudurlabh, because he knows in this material world, people are living an animalistic life. Even Vyasadeva has mentioned in the Shastras that, what is that verse? Ahar nidra bhai mantunam chad etad naranam pashubi samana dharmena adhika visesho dharma vihina pashubi samana. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are the four functions that are common to man and animal, Vyasadeva says. But dharmena adhika visesho, but the human form of life has one specialty, which these are the four are common. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are common to even animals and human beings. But dharmena adhika visesho, if one cultivates dharma or spirituality, adhika visesho, they have that extra faculty. Dharma vihina pashubi samana. And without cultivating spirituality, then even though we may have a human form of life, we are as good as animals. Pashubi samana. Very strong words that have been used by Vyasadeva. And this is a fact. So that is why Krishna kind of delineates and segregates all those who have taken to the path of Vaishnavism and sincerely, following the path, the principles of Vaishnavism, etc. So they are known as Samatma Durlabh. Because if we look at it in this world today, how many people are really following the path of Vaishnavism? Even under the guise of Vaishnavism, and even under the guise of being devotees of particular demigods, like even Mahadev and Ganapati and Durga Devi, there are so many of them are eating meat. Is it true or not? And then they call themselves devotees of Shankar Mahadev or devotees of Durgama. No, honestly, they are in a big illusion when they are thinking like that. That is why Krishna says, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabh. Such good people are Durlabh. But also one thing Krishna says, which is a very, very rasik, there is a double meaning. Manushanam sahasranushu kaschit yatate siddhaye. So when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, just before I go into that verse, Manushanam, we try to understand the opulence of the Supreme Lord, and we are attracted. As they say in Hindi, or perhaps in Bengali, if there is a similar saying, or other languages, chamatkar ko hai namaskar. Whenever somebody can perform a miracle, oh wow, amazing. that person is put on the highest pedestal. Chamatkar ko hai namaskar, right? So similarly, Krishna has to show some chamatkar, his opulence, so that people will get attracted to him, and eventually they will get attracted to his sweetness. Right now, most of us are not attracted to his sweetness. We are attracted to his opulence, and that is why we are too much into this Bhagavad Gita scene. Too much. Right from the day I joined ISKCON 34 or 35 years ago, it is Bhagavad Gita on the Sunday lecture. And even today, if I go, it is Bhagavad Gita. Nothing wrong. But there is something beyond Bhagavad Gita that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has asked Rai Ramanand to speak about. And that is it. That is the question: when? When will we be able to join the dance party of Radha and Krishna? When we will, but in order to join the dance party of Radha and Krishna, that kind of surrender, that bhava of Raj, that sarva dharman paritijya, or manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Siddhi, the topmost perfection, out of millions and millions of humans. This is even beyond, this verse is even beyond Samahatma Sudurlabh, which is the previous verse that I just mentioned. Kaschit yatati siddhaye, out of that, maybe one yatati siddhaye, one will get that highest perfection. What is that highest perfection? Becoming a gopi in Vraj Mandal, in the amorous pastimes, in the Madhurya Rasa. This is a secret that I'm sharing with you all today. That is what Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye means. So we have to decide, do we want to become just, because there are sadhus everywhere, good people. There are good people in our glorious movement, ISKCON. But do we want to become siddhas? Like Narottam Das Thakur writes, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Shei Mora Sampada, Shei Mora Bhajana Pujana, Shei Mora Vancha Siddhi. Glorifying, and that was the most favorite bhajan of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And I mentioned that last time in last Sunday's lecture, that when Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada was leaving his body, he asked one of his disciples to sing that bhajan, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, because that is the highest perfection. Because Rupa Manjari is one of the most intimate sevikas of Sri Radha. So following in her footsteps, like Narottam Das Thakur says, praise to Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya, in that bhajan, Radha Krishna Pranamura, Jugala Kishora, Kalindi Jamune Keli, Kadam Veravana. In the last line, Narottam Das Thakur is praying, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho, Dase Anudas, Seva Abhilasha Diye, Narottam Das. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Dasa and Das is who? Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna, Nahi Anna. He is Radha, Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna. And then who are the most Dase Anu Das of Radha Krishna? It is this line of gopis, the Swapaksha gopis, the Manjaris. There is this subtle indication in Narottam Das Thakur's lines in that particular bhajan. So, we sing all these Vaishnava bhajans, but, we should be blessed with that special understanding, and that we will certainly be blessed if we get the proper association of the Rasik Vaishnava when we hear about their explanations. And this particular servant here is just merely trying to, do that. Whatever little I know, I want that everybody we should all raise our standard. We should all raise our bar so that we can attain the highest perfection. That is Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye. That is the highest siddhi, when one is able to actually enter into the fifth rasa, which is the Madhurya rasa. And that is what Mahaprabhu came to give. That is why he came. The internal reason and the external reason of giving the Mahamantra was so that eventually, under the guidance of the pure Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we will understand what Mahamantra is. Mahamantra is actually the Ras Leela itself. Why is it? Somebody may ask. So in the Mahamantra, what is the word Hara? Or Hara is like when you address somebody in Sanskrit, then it becomes Hare. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is addressing all the internal energies of Sri Krishna. by calling them Hare. Actually, Hara, but we are calling Hare. Like I mentioned this example, somebody whose name is Sita. So if you want to address or call that person Sita, then if you're speaking Sanskrit, then you have to say Hey Site. You don't say Hey Sita. That is improper grammar. Or if you want to call out Radha, so you don't say Hey Radha. We say Hey Radhe. So if you study, for example, the Shad Goswami Ashtakam, the Srinivas Acharya, who has composed this Shad Goswami Ashtakar, he says in that, Hey Radhe Vraja Devaki Chalalite. So she's here, the address, he's addressing, Hey Radhe, oh Radha, where are you? Lalite, Chalalite, and Lalita, where are you? And not, Hey Radha, Lalita, Shri Govardhan Pad Patale, Kalindi Tate, Van Kutaha, where are you? So Shri Radhe Lalite. So Hara means all the, and especially for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, or especially within the Gaudiya Vaishnava community, the fifth rasa, which is all the gopis of Vrindavan, that is Hara. The Manjris, that is denoted by the word Hara. And the leader of all of them, who they are servants of Srimati Radharani, the head is Sri Radhe. And because Hara encompasses not only all the gopis in the Madhurya Rasa, but it also encompasses Sri Radha, who is the epicenter, just like she is the epicenter in the Ras Leela. So this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, when one devotee is of that level, and when the person is chanting, one can actually enter into the Ras Leela just through the Mahamantra. Please try to understand this. Today I'm going to go into as much details as possible, even without going into the Gopi Geet itself, about just the what is this Gopi Geet, what is this Ras Leela. We have to get that proper understanding, and once we get it, I'm really hoping that your hearts will jump with joy, and we will all set a newer and newer standard in our bhakti. So I'm connecting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to the Ras Leela now. So in that Ras Leela, there's all gopis that are present, and they're only Madhurya Rasas gopis. So we have to understand that those who are loving Krishna as a paramour, as a lover, beloved, and like a boyfriend, girlfriend, or like that kind of a relationship, only those were allowed. And none of the other gopis of Vrindavan who are in the Vatsalya Ras, or none of the sakhas of Krishna, the friends of Krishna, they were not even permitted in this Ras Leela, because this is a very, very special and the highest, the crescendo and the zenith, or the parikashta of prem, which is the highest specialty. And when it is delineated, we find that I had mentioned previously also, even during my lectures in Damodar Ashtakam, that Krishna prem is like pure milk. We are all looking for Krishna prem, but within Krishna prem, there are so many different levels, I would say so, or specialties. Just like when Krishna prem, who is like pure milk, and when we put it on the stove, and when one wants to make kheer, then very slowly that flame is it's put on the slow flame, and it is stirred and stirred and stirred, and then that milk becomes thicker. So that kind of prem is there in Vraj. From the prem from the Dasyaras to the Sakhyaras, it becomes thicker, and then it even becomes even more thicker when somebody wants to make some sweets out of the milk that is on a slow flame, and then it can become more thicker into rabdi. Rabdi is even more thicker than kheer, right? So just to give an analogy, that rabdi can be described more or less, it is all part of Krishna prem, but that sweetness of rabdi is like the Vatsalya prem of Nandarani, of Nanda Maharaj, etc., or the elderly gopis and gopas of Braj. But then there is, when more and more it is being condensed and it becomes thicker, and it becomes khoya or mawa. It actually becomes so thick on the, and then that mawa, then you can turn it into different wonderful sweets like peda, or many other different sweets. And that mawa is considered the summum bonum of that Krishna prem, or that milk. So when we say Krishna prem, it is a general blanket. But eventually, just like when you ask a student that what will you be pursuing when you go to college, somebody is already in the 12th grade or in the 10th grade. Oh, I want to take science. So that's fine. Parents are satisfied, science. But once they pass that, or they are in the 12th grade year, then they start speaking about, oh, now within sciences, I want to take up biology, or I want to take up physics, or I want to specialize in chemistry. And as they go into the graduation classes, then further, if somebody is a student of chemistry, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, industrial chemistry, all different kinds of delineations are there. Or somebody who started a student of biology, then further, oh, I want to become a medical student. After that, even then, it's like becoming thicker and thicker, the cream. What would you like to become? General physicians, and you're just happy with that? Or you want to become a specialist, a pulmonologist, an oncologist, a cardiologist, or a neurologist, etc. So the specialty that I am talking about, that we are so fortunate, and most of us, we do not realize that we, by some pious activities or some sukruti in our past lives, we have been given admittance in the group of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu amongst those devotees, not knowing what we will be, what we are capable of studying, or what we are capable of achieving, which others will not be able to achieve, honestly speaking. So this, in the Ras Leela, Krishna is now sometimes wiping the perspiration of the gopis swiftly, sometimes tying the ankle bells. And now suddenly Radharani, when she actually sees that Krishna is also dancing with all, and he's also with me. But then there is a certain transcendental envy that gets into her. How dare he do that in front of me? How dare? And that is so natural. Everything that emanates, all the bhavas or emotions that emanate in our hearts, are there because it is there in the spiritual world. Please try to understand, even in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a particular verse that Urdha Mula Shakha, the spiritual world is the real tree, and this material world is the roots up, like of an upturned tree. Similarly, where there is Kaya, the original object, which is the spiritual world and the original spiritual personalities, then there is Chaya. Chayeva yasya bhuvanani vivarti durga, ichha anurupami cha cheshtate sa govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. In that verse of Brahma Samhita, Srishti Sriti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha, Chayeva yasya vivarti bhuvanani vivarti durga. So Durga Ma is a reflection of Radharani in the material world. She is, and like that, all the emotions and all the different activities and all the different feelings and all the different emotions, because they are there in the spiritual world. The envy is there in this world too. We find that people are envious of each other, etc. Why? Because envy is existing in the spiritual world. But the major difference is that envy in the spiritual world is to enhance Krishna Prem, whereas the envy in this material world will keep us away from Krishna Prem. As a matter of fact, it will keep us away from spirituality. As a matter of fact, it will only keep us eternally sort of in this material world. Puna puna janam, puna puna maranam, janani jathare shayanam. Again and again we will be born, and again we will die in this material world, in the wombs of different mothers. We will be tied to the different umbilical cords. This is Sri Shankaracharya Path who has mentioned this. So Radharani feels that's envy. And at the same time, there is this, when the gopis see that each gopi is being specially dealt with by Krishna. Oh, see, Shyam Sundar is wiping my sweat. Shyam Sundar is tying my ankle bells. Shyam Sundar is giving me those very naughty smiles. And Shyam Sundar is so happy because I'm the best dancer. That is why he's dancing only with me. So Yoga Maya kind of covers their vision, where they feel that Krishna is only dancing with them, and a certain pride develops in their heart. Now, this pride is also transcendental. We have pride in this material world, but this pride is for our sense gratification. So there are two explanations. The first explanation, when that pride develops, and when Radha Rani sees that Krishna right in front of her eyes. Can you imagine, you know, giving a very practical and a mundane example? And we see that in the movies sometimes. And sometimes we have heard, and we have also seen it in our practical life, in our experience, that the wife is right there, and suddenly the husband is meeting behind her back in a party, in and because they already have an affair, and then he simply gives her a kiss, and right in front of her wife's eyes, thinking that the wife is not watching. Imagine that scenario. And imagine if the wife happens to take a look at that, just simply glance her husband, uh, either flirting or just, simply, giving a peck on the cheek or even a kiss. How furious she can become. How dare he do that in front of me? What would be the first reaction? Mostly, they would immediately get so upset that they would leave the scene, you know, and they would never want to see that person again in their lives. I'm done with him. That is the reaction that we find in the mundane world. And so on a transcendental level, in this Ras Leela, Radharani feels Man. Man is a very high stage of Krishna Prema. Within the Prema, I had mentioned before that the Sakhas have a Prema that is called Vishramba Prema. And that and then the gopis that are of the elderly nature, like Mother Yashoda, they have got the Sneha Prema, or it is known as the Gritta Sneha. Just like their heart melts like ghee. Gritta means ghee. But the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani, and in the conjugal ras or Madhurya rasa, they have their prema is very thick. That is very controlling in nature. It is of what nature? It would of Dakshin Bhav. Dakshin Bhav means the leftist, and there is the Bamya Bhav. Bamya Bhav means the rightist. So, as an example, the Swapaksha gopis, or Radharani herself and her servitors, or her very near friends, dearmost friends, they are known as the Dakshin Bhav gopis. And in Dakshin Bhav gopis, the main criteria delineating them from the Bamya Bhav or the right wing gopis is that Dakshin Bhav has this bhava or the sentiment that Krishna, you are mine. That possessiveness is of the highest in nature. Not that we are yours, that is also there. But what is predominating in that bhava or that sentiment is that takes a upper seat or upper hand is that you are mine. So that Vashya, that Vasha or the controlling nature is of the highest extent in that bhav, in the Dakshin bhav. But in the Bamya bhav, or the rightist wing, where the Vipakshi gopis like Chandravali are there, their bhav is Krishna, we are yours. And they are satisfied with that kind of sentiment, and they do not try to control Krishna just like the Swapaksha gopis of Radharani or like Radharani. And they cannot. So that is the major difference amongst many other differences, but these are the major points. So we have just learned what is Dakshin Bhav and what is Bamya Bhav. The Swapaksha gopis are Dakshin Bhav, and the Vipaksha gopis are the right wing gopis, Bamya Bhav. So being in the Dakshin Bhav, and she is the Vrajeshwari, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, who is of the highest controlling nature. And one may wonder, is that a good thing? Like supposing if we see somebody's wife who is very controlling, And it is very obvious when we see them sometimes in a social gathering or, you know, uh, that she is very controlling. People will not say things, but they know. So is that nice? It is not nice. It is not nice as long as it is not for her own sense gratification. But it is of the highest nature of love. It is because it enhances the prema of Sri Krishna. Very important point. I will repeat this. It enhances the relationship between those personalities who have that transcendental controlling nature. Their love is so thick in nature that it cannot be paralleled, or cannot be compared with anybody, even in the Madhurya Rasa. And that is what Krishna is always hankering after. So that man, when the gopis go into man, Radharani goes into man or sulkiness, or when she is displaying that unhappy nature, that I don't want to see him, and she ran away from the Ras Mandal. She was, although Krishna was with her because he was so swift, but seeing, it is not that Krishna has to be only with her, but Krishna has only to be with her and not to be with anybody else. That is the crescendo of mana. So, for example, supposing we find that sometimes, let's say in the relationship of parents and children, there might be a very over possessive child in the family. When the father and mother shower love to the brother or sister or the siblings, they don't like it. Only I should be given that love. I should be special. We have seen that, right? We have experienced that, or we have heard it, right? So similarly, in the highest nature of prema, which only Radharani possesses, in the other Madhurya Rasa and the Paksha Gopis, the further delineation of prem from the snigdha or the gritna sneha of Vatsalya Ras, it further becomes thickens, just like it thickens into molasses or jaggery, sugarcane juice, or milk thickens into khoya, or the mawa, the cream. Similarly, it thickens into raga, anuraga, and then beyond that, rag, anuraga, there is something. There are a few more levels, but the highest and only exclusive level is known as Madanakya and Mohanakya Bhav, which only Sri Radha has, not the other Swapaksha Gopis, nor Lalita, nor Vishakha, nor anybody else. And they are extremely happy, the rest of the Swapaksha Gopis, seeing Radha go into that mana. So when Radharani leaves the Ras Mandal, and Krishna is at the same time very quickly dancing with all the gopis, he now stops his dance and he disappears into the forest, following the footprints of Radharani. So the two reasons for Krishna leaving the Ras Leela is, the one external reason that is explained, that the gopis that were dancing with them, they felt a very special pride that Krishna is only mine. And Krishna wanted to kind of bring home that, no, don't be under that impression. Because there also, in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's Abhigya and Swarat. He's fully independent. Only the point where he's not independent is in the Madhurya Rasa, when it comes to the Swapaksha Gopis of Radharani, and when he is with Radharani. That is, so the other gopis that were dancing with Sri Krishna were from the opposite camp. So he wanted to, that was a multifarious or a multiple reason why he disappeared. And the main reason why he disappeared is because Radhaji had left the Ras Mandal. And now this was the highest opportunity for Krishna and Radha's prema to reach newer and newer levels. To reach newer and newer levels. Sometimes we find through our practical experience, when we have a fight, a quarrel, or even when there's a very, very heavy argument with somebody whom we love in any relationship, what happens? In that relationship, when that love, that after that fight, and when everything it becomes, sweet, that sweetness is much more than before. Think about this. When two persons, they quarrel really bad, and when they come back in the status of love for each other, then that love has increased to a much higher level. And that is what this Ras Leela facilitated. It facilitated more than one reason. Krishna's promise to the gopis, because Krishna said that the gopis had actually asked Katyayani Devi, the Katyayani Vrat will be on Thursday, which is right after Ekadashi, after the 5th day of the Pancha Bhishmaka, after Kartik Purnima, in the Magh Shirsha month. The next month after Kartik is Magh Shirsha, and the first day is Katyayani Vrat. And at that time, during the birth of Katyayani, the young girls, they pray to Katyayani Devi, who is none other than an expansion of Radharani, but they do not know that because they are in Rajmandal, and Yog Maya has completely enamored them, put a spell on them, and even on Krishna. Because what is the job of Maya? Maya means it's an illusion. It makes a spell to forget. So Mahamaya makes us forget that we are a spirit soul and we are eternal servants of Krishna. And Yoga Maya in the spiritual world in Golok Vrindavan makes even Krishna forget that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He makes the gopis and all the Vrajvasis forget that he is the supreme Lord. And that is the reason why their intimacy is of the highest nature. And whereas in Vaikuntha, there is awe and reverence. And there is a different nature that is of respect that is displayed in, and where there is a lot of respect, then we cannot find that intimacy. So considering that, that was one of the reasons where when they went, they said that we want a nice husband, and Krishna, who is situated in everybody's heart, they had already seen Krishna, and they all internally desired Krishna to be their husband. Right from childhood, Krishna has always been attractive. So they, like even sometimes we find that very, very young boys and girls in school, they have a crush for each other. And they sometimes, even when they're playing, say, when we grow up, we will get married. They say like that when they play. And sometimes they even play some kind of a wedding game, things like that. We have seen it in our childhood, And so the desires of these young girls in Vrindavan, they already wanted somebody like Krishna, and they prayed to Mother Katyayani. And Mother Katyayani is none other than one of the forms of the Durga Devi, who is an expansion of Sri Radharani. And can you imagine? It is Radharani who facilitated and inspired Krishna for this Ras Leela for the benefit of all the gopis, those who had desired him right from the young age as her husband. This is Radharani. That is why she is so great. Somebody asked me yesterday that why is it that Radha's name is always first? So in WhatsApp, this was a question. So how much could I really write? So in a very brief way, I simply tried to put it in the simplest way. Why is it so? Because Radharani, actually, I would like to read my own statement verbatim from the question that this Prabhuji had asked me. And that way we can kind of connect the dots here. Here it is. In Hindi, which I can translate in English, श्रीमती राधारानी का नाम पहले आता है, आप विश्लेषण करें क्यों राधा जी का नाम पहले आता है. The name of Srimati Radharani always appears first. Please describe to me why. Why is it that Radharani's name comes first? So very briefly, within 5 minutes, whatever manifests in my heart, I kind of, wrote to him. Krishna is Madan Mohan. Madan is beautiful. He is Kamdev. He is Cupid. Krishna even stupefies or mesmerizes or enchants Madan, Kamdev. But one of Radharani's name is Madan Mohana Mohini, the enchanter of the enchanter of Kamdev. Thus, Krishna is always crazy after her. When someone is crazy after a person, they always chant that person's name day and night. Is it not so? So even Krishna chants Radhe, Radhe day and night. So when the devotees chant Radhe, Radha first, or when we chant, that is the reason why we chant Hara first or Hare. Krishna is most pleased because she is first in all respects. In bhakti, she is first. Prema, she is first. Compassion, she is the topmost, she is first. That is why Krishna obtained the mood of Radharani and became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hope this very short explanation satisfies your query. Your servant Satchitananda Dasa. So, this Ras Leela, actually Katyani Devi, they're praying to Radharani indirectly that we would like to, associate with such a wonderful, sweet personality, Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful, the only reality. He is the most beautiful and he is the summum bonum of everything. So knowing that, knowing the wish of Radharani, Krishna promises them, and that next year during the night of Sharad Purnima, I will satisfy your desire. And thus, Krishna satisfies the desires of the gopis by conducting this amazing Ras Leela. And as we have described different components of the Ras Leela, the reason, so that was one reason of the Ras Leela, is to satisfy the desires of the gopis. And because it was because they had prayed to Radharani through Katyani Devi, he cannot refuse that. We can see the compassion of Radharani, that she just doesn't want to keep Krishna alone. It may appear like that, but she is extremely happy also internally when Krishna is actually showering his association and blessings on everyone. Externally, there are so many things. Sometimes a wife may say, or a girlfriend may say, oh, get out of here. I don't want to see your face. But the moment the person tries to turn around, says, okay, fine, see you, tata, bye, goodbye, see you, whenever. So says, hey, where are you going? And she will catch him by the sleeve. Khada re, idara. Kaha ja raha hai? So we see those sentiments. They are very, very of a high esoteric nature. So when Radharani leaves for the forest, Krishna also leaves the Ras Mandal, serving a multi-purpose, that pride. So therefore, we should never feel very, very proud of our bhakti or our achievement. Sometimes Krishna tests us. Sometimes Krishna gives us certain situations in our lives, even while we are presently in our present situations in this very life. Sometimes we find that we are standing in the temple, we are all the way in the back on a Janmashtami day or a Gaur Purnima day, and we want to desire that prasad that the pujari is distributing, that flower or that coconut or that mango or that banana, and all the devotees have their hands up, and it is, there's hundreds and hundreds of devotees, and it is impossible to go through that crowd and even come close to touch the pujari when he's offering those prasadam. And sometimes the devotees have the deep desire, they're all the way in the back, but suddenly, lo and behold, this might be an experience that we may have experienced ourselves. Suddenly somebody says, this is the Mahaprasad. These are the flowers of Srimati Radharani that she was holding in her hands. This is for you, Prabhu. This is for you, Mataji. Tears of ecstasy sometimes we have seen in the eyes of the devotees. I was all the way in the back. I don't know how that happened. Radharani really listened to me. So if we are very humble in that mood, Radharani will always grace us. Krishna will, but sometimes we get proud. Oh, some of us who have this Brahmin initiation, we have this Brahmin thread, we are on the altar, and everybody else is like, I will give my friends, they will have to remember me to return my favor. And all these things, when they're going on in their heads, when they're on the altar, then Krishna and Radharani will sometimes say, Tata, bye-bye. Now, no need, I will have other pujaris do my seva. Like that, Krishna has actually punished and set an example, with many devotees, we can say there are very deep-rooted, high, even within the pure devotional community, we find that Krishna has done such things. One example that comes to my mind is the deities of Srinathji, the deities of Madhvendra Puripad. They actually manifest to who? The Param Gurudev of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gurudev is Ishwar Puripad. And Ishwar Puripad had taken initiation, and he was a wonderful disciple of Madhvendra Puripad. One of the most important qualities of Ishwar Puripad was that he was so humble, and he did all menial services. He used to clean the place where Madhvendra Puripad used to answer the call of nature regularly. So much menial services he performed. And that is the reason Madhvendra Puripad blessed him with a disciple like Radha and Krishna as Mahaprabhu. But to him, the Prachin or the ancient deities of Vajranath, Gopalji manifest in Govardhan, not too far from Govind Kund. And Madhvendra Puripad on the Shikhar of Govardhan, on the top, this wonderful description is given. Mahaprabhu personally describes how his Param Gurudev, his pastimes, about the appearance of Gopalji, and how then Gopalji requested him to go and get some chandan, and how Madhvendra Puripad goes to the Malaya hills in Orissa and brings some chandan, and on the way, Mahaprabhu gloriously describes the stopping at Gopinath temple and the stealing on the way back when he came, how Gopinath stole the kheer for Madhvendra Puri. From that day on, he became Kheerchur Gopinath. And we have those deities in our Toronto temple, ISKCON Toronto, Radha Kheerchur Gopinath. So, Gopalji manifested to Madhvendra Puri. Later on, he became Srinathji, the name changed. And Gopalji was worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnava, by the Bengalis, under the guidance later on of Rup Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. But when Sri Vallabhacharya, when Gosaiji, Vithalnathji, the son of Vallabhacharya, they were so much mesmerized with the beauty of Gopalji, they begged Rup Goswami, please let us serve them for some time. And Rup Goswami, seeing the level of bhakti, he said, yes, certainly. So he actually gave them, it is said that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas handed over Srinathji to the Pushti Margi Vaishnavas, and even today their services of par excellence and amazing. So Gopalji did not want to come back to even to Vrindavan. He had left Vrindavan during the time of Aurangzeb, gone to Kamyavan. From Kamyavan, he was transported to Nathdwara, which is about 30 kilometers. Actually, first to Jaipur, and from there he was taken to Nathdwara. And from Nathdwara, he stayed there 30 kilometers from Udaipur. Seeing the love of the Pushti Margi Vaishnavas, he did not leave. So even Govind Devji, Rup Goswami's deities, they left Vrindavan and they never came back. Actually, I should not say that, it will hurt the Vrajvasis, but from the angle of that Abhiman that we are talking about, sometimes somebody, because a lot of the Jati Gosais, a lot of the persons who think that it is their proprietorship to own that Krishna, like a lot of them, Jati Gosais means they have been, those deities have descended from generation to generation in their family. And then they take everything for granted. We find that even that happens in Vrindavan. They become very complacent. Some of these Jati Gosais who are serving the amazing deities, you know, they are subject, they are eating those tobacco products and so many things that a real Vaishnava should not be doing. And they even desecrate their own temples with the spitting of pan and all these things. So all Krishna has a certain limitation, and he always is in wanting to find where I can find other devotees who really love me, where I can accept this service. So Govind Devji, Gopinathji, and Madan Mohanji. Madan Mohanji went to Karoli, Sanatan Goswamis, that is also in Rajasthan. Govind Devji in Jaipur, Gopinathji in Jaipur, Damodarji, Jiva Goswami's Damodarji is in Jaipur. The deities that are manifested directly to them. Gopinathji had manifested to Madhu Pandit. He is also in Jaipur. He never went back to Vrindavan because the love that the Vaishnava showered, the Rajputs, the Rajput kings and the Vaishnavas. And even today, I tell you, it's been some years before I went to Govind Devji, but I used to go almost every year. At every morning during the Sringar Darshan, at least about, I would say, 5 to 10,000 devotees would assemble in that hall, which that king had made in some era. And they all simultaneously sing, the glorification of Govind Devji. Actually, if you listen to that chorus, tears will roll and out of your eyes, and even the hairs will stand on, and you will get goosebumps. Govinda tumhare charno mein ek prem pujari आया है, राधे श्याम तुम्हारे चरणों में एक प्रेम पुजारी आया है, मेरे हाथ में जल का लोटा है, मैं तुम्हें नहलाने आई हूं, बड़े प्रेम से नहाओ मनमोहन, मैं तुम्हें नहलाने आया हूं, गोविंद तुम्हारे चरणों में एक प्रेम पुजारी आया है. So Rup Goswami's Govind Devji never wanted to come back. That love. So he is the transcendental autocrat. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the 8th verse of the Chaitanya Sistastakam, Ashlisha pada ratam pinastumam darshanam marma harto karotuva yatha tathava vidhato lampato mat prananathasya eva na paraha. You are the transcendental autocrat, O Krishna, and you are my life heir, mat prananatha, my master, whether you kick me or embrace me. So devotees, pure devotees like Rup Goswami understood that now Gopalji wanted service from the Vallabhi Vaishnavas. So similarly, another incident, what was that? Vishwavasu, the worshipper and the Shabaras in the mountains of Nilachal, they were the original worshippers of Jagannath. But then Jagannath, in Nil Madhav said that I must go now. My devotee Indrajumna is waiting and I want to be served by him. So that is the reason why that whole katha of the pastime of Lord Jagannath, how he manifests. And then King Indrajumna in his vision is told that I will appear in the Mahamodes Tire, in the banks of the great ocean, which is the present ocean in Jagannath Puri, in the form of 4 logs, one as Sudarshan Chakra, one as myself, one as my brother Baldev, and one as Subhadra Devi. Establish me, build a nice temple. So the rest is history. So Krishna is Swarat, fully independent. And he is Abhigya, directly and indirectly, Yato Anvayat. He knows everything. So knowing that the gopis felt that way, he said that, you know what, I'm going to disappear. But his main reason for disappearance because Radharani had left the Ras Mandal. And Radharani left the Ras Mandal, Krishna immediately left, and all the gopis started, hey, did you see Krishna? Did you see Krishna? Yeah, no, he was just dancing with me. But Krishna was already in the forest. The footsteps of Radharani were visible to her, and Krishna determined that she has gone in a certain direction. And Krishna simply follows those footsteps in a certain direction. And when Radharani is so upset that she stops at one place, and Krishna sees that her impression is even deeper in one place. And then Krishna realizes that she is pretty close at this point. And Krishna, lo and behold, finds Radharani. Radharani in a very, very sulky mood. She is very upset. Then Krishna pacifies her so much. And not only that, Krishna says, you know what? Radharani says, take me further into the forest, far away. And Krishna, I'm tired. So at that point, Krishna picks her up and Krishna takes her deep into the forest where they are wonderfully situated, and their Madhurya Rasa has amazingly reached a new crescendo of zenith due to this Ras Leela. In the meantime, all the gopis gathered, including the Swapaksha gopis who are there, because only Krishna takes Radharani. So Lalita, Vishaka, all those all the Champaklata, Tunga Vidya, Rangadevi, Sudevi, and Shaibya, and Chandravali, and all those gopis, they all gathered together and say, where have they gone? Where? Then they start searching for Krishna. And when they see, one gopi spots the footprints of Krishna going into the forest, and also she notices that these are the footprints of another very special gopi. Now, those who made that statement, another very special gopi, was those statements that were made by the Vipakshi gopis. Those statements were corroborated by the Tathastha gopis and also by the Surud gopis. But the Swapaksha gopis immediately recognized their Swaminis, their life and soul Radharani's footprints very nicely. And they were very, very happy to see that Krishna's footprints were following. But the rest of them, they just simply speculated, this must be a very special gopi. Srimad Bhagavatam has described that in the Panch Maharasa Adhyay. This must be a very, very special gopi, that Krishna left all of us and went behind her. And then they started singing the glories of that gopi. They said that this gopi must be so fortunate. What kind of pious deeds she must have done that Krishna is crazy after her, and he started leaving the Ras Mandal. We were having such a wonderful time, such a wonderful Ras Leela dance. But Krishna decided to follow her and her only. And like that, they all started searching for Sri Krishna. The Swapaksha gopis, realizing that when they came to that spot where they only find one set of footprints, and they find that the set of footprints are more heavily embedded into the earth, into the Vraj Bhumi. They observed that so scrutinizingly, amazing, and they came to that conclusion. Secretly, our Radha must have been tired, and Krishna must have carried her. And that is why we do not see the second set of footprints. We only see the footprints of Sri Radha, or Sri Krishna. With a lot of glee and with a lot of happiness, that Radha and Krishna are united. And that is what our Gaudiya Vaishnavism is all about. When Radha and Krishna are united, especially the Manjaris, they always make that utmost effort, especially when Radharani goes into Man and she doesn't want to see Krishna. Then the Manjaris, our Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj, all these acharyas in the form of Manjaris are always eager to rejoin them, because they know in their union there will be a Nava Rasa, a very new crescendo, a new zenith of love that will never have been experienced before, which is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicates. Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam in his Chaitanya Sistastakam, the first verse. What is that line prior to Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam? Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadu Jivanam Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam. There is a secret, and I had mentioned that, I remember, in the 22 weeks of the Chaitanya Sistastakam, describing the first verse in about 6 or 7 weeks, 7 sessions, that when one gets Vidya Vadu Jivanam, when one gets the knowledge, or one gets the mood or the consciousness of the Vraj Gopis, Vadu. Vadu means especially those who are married. The word Vadu in Sanskrit or in Hindi or in Bengali or other words, Bahu. Bahu means to expand more. So a woman who is married can expand herself into children. That is why the word Badhu is used in Sanskrit or in other vernacular languages. So even though married, these gopis, Vraju, when we get the knowledge, that full surrender, that Krishna is our only husband, and the Samambonam, the Parikasta or the Samambonam of full surrender, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, then the life of the gopis, or that consciousness, when it is upon, then Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam. Then it increases the joy of bliss of both Radha and Krishna, and the gopis serving Radha and Krishna, the unlimited ocean of bliss. And that is what they were feeling in that forest, which the other Tathastha, Surud, and the Vipaksha gopis were not feeling, because they did not know. They always addressed her as the special gopi. And also, perhaps the Surud gopis knew, but they did not want to take the name of Radhaji. But they all understood that Radhaji is the special gopi. And that is the reason to increase our love, Ananda Ambudi Varan, to increase the ocean of love of Radharani, this Ras Leela. That is one of the main and the highest reason why this Ras Leela is performed. Eventually, Radha and Krishna are deep into the forest, and then when the gopis, from the first set of footprints to the first and second set of footprints, and then again only to one set of footprints, they follow deep into the forest in search of Sri Krishna. Why did you leave us? They were feeling morose. Perhaps we became they became repentant. We were very proud. Please come, my dear Krishna, please appear before us. And when, as they are talking and lamenting, Krishna and Radharani hear their voices. And Krishna, then he says, I must disappear again. He tells himself. He disappears for the second time, especially now when he is with Radharani alone in the forest. And Radharani starts crying. Ha nath ramana presta kwachi kwachi mahabaho. Oh, stout-handed Krishna, oh strong Krishna, where are you? Ha nath, oh my master, oh my life. Ramana presta. The word Raman is being used. The word Raman means one who is sporting with me, who is always loving with me. Sometimes with a lot of fun, with a lot of humor, sometimes with sarcasm, with so many different moods, but you are ultimately always sporting with me, whether in a mischievous way or in whatever way. Raman. There are many names, words of and the abbreviation of Raman is Ram. There are many meanings of the word Ram. But when I'm going to let another secret, which I think I'd mentioned in the Chaitanya Sistastakam. The word Ram, when we are uttering the word Ram, when we are chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That Ram means that Radha Raman Krishna. The Ram that she addressed, Raman, where are you? Ha Natha Ramana Preshta, my dear Raman, my dear naughty personality, where are you? The one who sports with me. Kwasi, where are you? Mahabaho. And he addresses Krishna as Mahabaho because he had just lifted Radharani for a certain length, quite a length in the forest, carrying her. It is not that just Radharani was tired. Perhaps because of Yogmaya's covering, even Krishna was tired because of the intense Ras Leela dance. But he had strong arms. Where are you? Ha Natha Ramana Preshta. So coming back to the Maha Mantra, when we chant Hare Krishna, actually from the highest consciousness, we can easily see that the Ras Leela is happening in the Maha Mantra. Hara means all the gopis, especially all in the Madhurya Rasa. Krishna means Krishna. They are united. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. The first Hare Krishna is the union of Radha and Krishna in the Ras Mandal. They are both together. And the second Hare Krishna is when he is not only with Radharani, but also with all the gopis. The union, Hare and Krishna. Krishna's internal energies, which are the gopis, including Radharani and Krishna himself. Twice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Then Krishna disappears in the Ras Mandal. So now there is Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, where are you? Krishna, Krishna. So that Krishna, Krishna is in separation, in Viraha. And the first two Hare Krishnas are in union or in Sambhog. These are some of the very finest secrets, my devotees. And then Hare Hare. The Swapaksha gopis are saying Radhe Radhe. Internally they are saying, calling out to Radharani. Because directly even Sukadeva Goswami doesn't take the name of Sri Radha in Srimad Bhagavatam. And when the Swapaksha, the Vipaksha, the Surud and the And the Tathastha gopis, when they all are in separation, crying out, the second Hare Hare is when Krishna disappears, when Radharani said that he was just with me. But the reason why he disappeared is because he didn't want that the others show he was fearful that maybe they will get more envious of Radha because I gave her special treatment by following in the forest, carrying her, and then also meeting in a secluded place. So for the protection of Radharani, he disappears for the second time, and that is the second Hare Hare. Hare Rama, that is the mood that the Swapaksha gopis feel when they are thinking of the union of Radha and Krishna. When Radha Raman is Ram, Ram is Raman, is sporting with Radharani. Hare Hare. That separation again, second separation that happened in the Ras Leela in the forest. And that is when all of them together, unable to see the tears of Radharani, including the Vipaksha gopis, ultimately they are her expansions. They could not see Radharani's anguish when Krishna just disappeared from her secluded place in the forest of Vrindavan. So they all felt so much pain, not only their internal pain, but for the pain for Krishna, for Radharani. And that is when they started singing the song of separation, the Gopi Geet. And of course, it is very late now, but the Samambonam of the Gopi Geet that His Divine Grace Prabhupada has mentioned in his purports, that in the separation from Krishna, the gopis considered a single moment an entire age. Even when they had previously seen him, they had found the blinking of their eyelids intolerable, for it blocked their vision of him for a fraction of a second. Srila Prabhupada here is referring to Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu has obtained the mood of Radharani in the Gambhira, especially in the 7th and 8th verses of the Shistastakam. Mahaprabhu has indicated that he has already obtained the bhav of Radha. And that is why Yugayitam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravasyayitam Shunaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. The 7th verse of the Shistastakam. Yugayitam Nimishena. The gopis were feeling in that separation as if millions and millions of yugas, millenniums have passed. Even with the blinking of an eye, they even sometimes cursed Lord Brahma. Why did this creator of the universe have to create eyelashes? Because sometimes they inhibit us from our vision of seeing Krishna, even with the palak, for just one moment it may be. They block our vision. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusa pravasyayitam. Tears are flowing in our eyes. Shunaitam jagat sarvam. The entire world, we are feeling zero, completely empty. Govinda virahename. In the separation of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada mentions that these ecstatic sentiments of Lord Krishna and the gopis that have been expressed, especially in this Pancha Maharasa Adhyay, they may appear like symptoms of lust, but in reality, they are the manifestations of the purest desire to satisfy the Supreme Lord's spiritual senses. Such amazing. It is the gopis who wanted to satisfy Krishna's desires, and Krishna wanting to satisfy the gopis' desires. That is what culminated. Jaya Jaya Rasa Mandala Jaya, Jaya Radha Sham. That's what Krishna Das sings. In Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Sri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan. And the gopis, I will very briefly touch maybe a couple minutes on the first verse that will express the anguish of the gopis in their hearts when they say Gopya Uchuhu. All the gopis. Gopya means plural. It is plural. And all the gopis in unison, doesn't matter which camp, they start singing Jayati Tedhikam Janmana Vrajaha Shrayata Indira Shashwadatrahi Daita Drushyata Dikshutavakas Tvai Druta Savas Tam Vichinvate. The gopis say, Jayati, so glorious it is. Te, meaning you, O Krishna, Adhikam, exceedingly, Janmana, Vrajaha. Your birth in this land of Vrindavan in Vraj Bhumi has made it exceedingly glorious. So Vraj Bhumi is glorious because you appeared here, O Krishna. And thus even Indira, Shrayata Indira. Indira means the goddess of fortune. She is also eternally residing here because she is doing tapasya in Belwan. She wants to enter into the other forest of Vrindavan, but she is not permitted because she still is not able to. This is as a side note. It's not a part of the verse because Lakshmi Devi eternally is residing. There is a temple of Lakshmi Devi across the Jamuna in Belwan, where she is eternally performing pastimes, eternally performing austerities so that she can become one of the gopis and get into the sweet pastimes of Krishna. Shashwat, eternally, she is there perpetually. Although she is present in Vaikuntha, but she is also simultaneously eternally present. She doesn't leave Belwan one day with the hope that Krishna, or especially with the hope with Radharani and the gopis will let her inside the Madhurya Rasa, make her a part of the inner circle. Daita Drishyatam. Daita means, oh beloved, oh dear, Vallabh. Just see the words, the anguish of the gopis. Drishyatam, please look at us, look at our condition. We will die. We are your devotees. Tavakaha. And don't think that we are maintaining our lives just for us. Tvai dhruta asavaha. Asava means the prana, the life airs. There is pancha pran. We maintain them. Especially the asava is the fifth pran or the fifth life air, which is the most important. If the fifth life air leaves the body, that means the body, the person is declared dead. So, Tvai Dhruta Asava, because of you, we maintain our life air. Tam Vichinvate. And therefore, we are searching for you. Because if we die, this is the notes or the explanations of our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti, you will not be able to maintain yourself. That is why we are maintaining our life. Don't think, and there are so many wonderful explanations. You will want to see us right now. We are so beautiful. How is it that you want to abandon us like this in the middle of the night? And so on and so forth. The 17 verses, the 18 verses of the Gopi Geet are a heart-rendering prayer of the highest ecstatic order. And after the Gopi Geet is finished, Krishna is actually listening to all this behind the bushes. He has not actually disappeared. Seeing their anguish, and he is feeling more anguish. And finally he appears on the banks of the Jamuna, right at the corner of the forest where it ends, where all the gopis are gathered, where they are singing the Gopi Geet. And then there ensues another Ras Leela, which is full of ecstasy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My dear devotees, this Gopi Geet we should all study. Perhaps next year we can start a little early. If those who are interested, and if I'm inspired, every day we can do the Katha. Maybe 30 days of the Kartik month or 28 days. We can go into every verse, dive deep into it by the mercy of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Raseshwari, Urjeshwari, Radharani. Gaur Premanande, Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaur Atishay Varana. The giver of Prema, Mahaprabhu, simply giving. May he bless us and his sincere followers of Rup Goswami. May they bless us with that vision. Chakshudana Dilojai Janme Janme Prabhu Shai Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. This Gopi Geet is eternal. It can go on eternally based on the consciousness of the devotee and the realizations that Krishna manifests in his heart. There's so many wonderful Rasik commentaries on the Gopi Geet. This servant of the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group has perhaps just scratched the surface with whatever little understanding and realization he has. Seek the blessings of all. Wishing you all the rest of the few days of a wonderful Kartik. And may this bring about a transformation in our lives of newer standards of pure bhakti. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So, thank you all very patiently